People will be detained and deported, yes, and hopefully they'll be in those camps for a very short period of time.
The immigration stuff that you were talking about yesterday, you're talking about keeping 24,000 illegal immigrants in MOD bases.
People aren't questioning the need for something radical to be done. The Prime Minister hasn't attacked me on the idea that we should be deporting people that come illegally.
As I said earlier, I think one of the risks, one thing I'm really worried about is by going now, will other parties start to play silly games with that piece of legislation? I hope they don't.
OK, thank you. Colin Mackay from STV.
Thank you. Just to clarify, before I ask you a proper question, who's going to lead the party into the election next year and who's going to take part in the STV leaders debate?
Well, it won't be me.
You're not going to lead you're not going to lead reform into the Scottish election next year?
I'm not standing for the Scottish Parliament, no.
But you're not going to lead the campaign, so you're not
we
going
will
to take part in the debates?
We will, of course, have a leader of our group, who will go in as leader of the group and be a potential, First Minister. So yes, of course. But hey, you know what? As I've explained before, and I did a similar thing when I was in Aberdeen the other day, we are a work in progress. We're growing. We're probably an advanced teenager now. We haven't got to full maturity as a political party. And as I said a moment ago, we had 200 candidates over the weekend being interviewed. We're going to put out what you'll see from us is a list of candidates representing every aspect of life, with broad experience of many, many fields, and from within that number, there will be a leader as we go into the elections.
On the immigration stuff that you were talking about yesterday, you're talking about keeping 24,000 illegal immigrants in MOD bases. Will any of these internment camps be in Scotland? Will any of the flights be from Scotland? And will you have to contend separately with the Scottish court system?
Even though Glasgow is the asylum capital of the UK, numerically, the numbers in Glasgow compared to the northern conurbations in England are actually very, very small. As for which military bases, we're not going to say that now, otherwise government would simply sell them off and probably put solar farms on them or something like that. But no, we are deadly serious about this plan. And I tell you what's really interesting is people aren't questioning the need for something radical to be done. Even the Prime Minister hasn't attacked me on the idea that we should be deporting people that come illegally. But he hasn't got the means to do it. The Tories didn't have the means to do it. We are proposing the means to do it.
Except for the internment camps.
People will be detained and deported, yes, and hopefully they'll be in those camps for a very short period of time. And I do believe that once the message gets to those who are prepared to pay thousands of euros to criminal smuggling gangs, that if you spend that money and come to the UK, you won't ever be allowed to stay. Within 2 weeks, the boats will stop coming, and that will at least stop the inward pressure that's been coming. There are other problems too. Huge other problems too, such as overstayers. If you look at the asylum list for last year, you see the biggest contingent is from Pakistan, and they're people that have flown supposedly to meet family members or come on holiday and just deliberately overstayed and then claimed asylum. So, there are many, many aspects to this. The boats, obviously, is about 40% of it, and it is the most visible thing. And I would just quickly say that when Tony Abbott put forward similar proposals on Australia in 2012, he was met with the same kind of debate. Can you, in practical terms, do what you've set out in your general election manifesto? And he stopped the boats. Tony Abbott in Australia proved that with political will, you can stop this scourge. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to go on.
Can I just,
please,
before we move on, just call in on the leadership question, because I think it's a really fair question. What is Reform going to be offering when we come into the final months of the election campaign? Clearly, Reform will need a figurehead so that you can grill them during the STV debate. But I'm not coming in here today as somebody who's been parachuted in to be the Reform leader. That would be entirely wrong. It would be wrong for the members of Reform. So I'm just here as I am, as an MSP.
Yeah, there's no backroom deal.
No, there certainly isn't. But obviously, by the time of the election, we'll need to have someone.
No, absolutely. No, absolutely. Tony Maguire, GB News.
Thank you. Mr Farage, you said that obviously immigration hasn't been a particularly big deal in Scotland, but over the last few weekends we have seen an increasing number of protests outside migrant hotels. What have you learned over your last few trips to Scotland to help you, I guess, renegotiate your plans for England for Scotland? You know, is there an understanding there that things have to perhaps be dealt very differently north of the border? And then to Mr Simpson, in terms of John Swinney, who's often talking about reform as dog whistle politics, bringing division to the country, how do you hope to combat him when you take your seat at Holyrood?
Well, clearly there are some areas that need to be dealt with differently, but there is also, a lot of commonality. There hasn't been a great debate about immigration in Scotland because, frankly, none of the parties in Holyrood have wanted to have that debate. So we've not really been having it. You're right. Over the last few weeks, there's a growing awareness of the issue, and I predicted from the podium a few minutes ago that I think that debate will get bigger. Inevitably, it will get bigger. But I think, I think the one thing that Scotland gives England an example of is the sheer stupidity of not aiming to be self-sufficient in energy, because clearly the Scottish economy stands to benefit far more from oil and gas than other regions or other parts of the United Kingdom. And I think it's absolutely tragic and self-defeating and stupid what we're doing to the North Sea. It just makes no sense at all. It is absolutely crazy on every single level. Economic madness. And the argument that wind power makes us less reliant on other sources of energy from around the world just is not true. The national grid is not fit to deal with intermittent renewable energy. And frankly, if you look at what's happened to energy costs with wind, one of the biggest lies we've been told is that it would give us cheaper energy. It does not. And right at the minute, there's another big round being negotiated for wind contracts. We'll find out what the final auction prices are, but there's no good news in it at all.
With regard to how I'll deal with John Swinney, I get on with Mr Swinney as I get on with most people. He knows me well enough to know that I don't indulge in dog whistle politics, as you describe it. He would have a job making that one stick, but he'll probably try. But I'll take my place in the Parliament next week for First Minister's questions. I'm not sure where I'll sit yet, but it probably won't be with the Conservatives, although actually there's no rules on that in Parliament. You can sit wherever you want, so maybe I'll decide on the day. I'm sure Mr Swinney will have some fun and I'll enjoy listening to his jokes on the day.
Yeah, but he might be surprised how many SNP voters might actually vote for you and vote for our party next year, so I'm sure he will have a go. Yes. Right, let's move on. James Cook, BBC National.
Thank you very much, Mr Farage. Scotland faces, in common with other parts of the UK, a demographic issue in terms of a shrinking share of the working age population and a falling birth rate. Given that, in a flatlining economy over many years now, doesn't the Scottish economy really need more migration, whether that might be legal migration, but doesn't it need more migrants rather than fewer? And just, if you don't mind, for Mr Simpson, I'm sorry, I didn't quite follow, I'm so sorry, your logic in terms of staying in Parliament, because I understand that if one is an MP or if one is elected in a constituency, that to a certain degree one has a contract with those voters, and you can say, well, they voted for me. But no one voted for you, did they? They voted for the Conservative Party. OK. Do you want to go with that first?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. I was elected on the Conservative list. That's why I've been uneasy with this decision. I am uneasy with it, but the rules say that you can stay. Now, maybe we should look at the rules, but we've had recently Jamie Green has gone from the Conservatives to the Liberal Democrats, and he has stayed on as an MSP. I think that it's maybe something that the Parliament should look at.